Hi, hello, and welcome back, everybody, to Wolf Tales. Last time, we had a very interesting day at the hot spring and an even more interesting night back at home. I'll leave it at that. Alright, moving on. In the days following my night together with Fuyu, I noticed a clear change in her behavior. While it's nothing as extreme as the night she crept into my bed, she's definitely not her usual self. Every day she follows me around acting like she has something she wants to say, yet never actually talking to me. Fuyu also steals glances at my face whenever we're eating or watching television, and it seems like she's been clinging to me already less and less every day. While I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for her behavior, the only event which ever comes to mind is the night that Fuyu crept into my bed. "Are you sure you've eaten enough, Fuyu?" asked Mirari. "You usually eat 3 times this much," she says. Fuyu doesn't say anything. "Fuyu?" Mirari asks. Asks Fuyu. Oh, princess," says Fuyu. I'm not hungry. I've already eaten my fill," she says. "Are you sure?" asks Mirari. "There's still plenty left." Fuyu says nothing again. "Back to ignoring me, huh?" asks Mirari. Fuyu continues to watch me out of the corner of her eye as Mirari sighs in exasperation. "You've changed Fuyu more in a couple of nights than I would have thought possible in a lifetime, fuckboy king. What did you do to her exactly?" asked Mirari. "Hey, don't look at me. If Fuyu's changed, it's her own doing," I say. Perhaps so," says Mirari. "But even then, something has to have happened to make her want to change herself," says Mirari. "Did you impregnate her?" Oh my god. She's so straightforward. She knows what happens. She knows. I almost spit out the contents of my mouth as Mirari takes me by complete surprise. "Impregnate? You mean impregnate Fuyu?" I ask. "Yes, did you?" asks Mirari, very straightforward. "Of course not," I say. "Why not?" asks Mirari. "Why?" I ask. I sit back down and take a few deep breaths as I try to calm down. "Fuyu is a woman of age. She has not taken a mate, and she appears to have taken a liking to you," says Mirari. "I can see no reason for you to turn down her advances," says Mirari. "You make it all sound so simple," I say. "Is it not simple?" asks Mirari. "Of course it isn't," I say to her. "I mean, Fuyu is just acting like this because she's in heat, right?" I ask her. "What happens when she returns to normal and realizes that she's thrown away something precious on the spur of the moment?" "Ah," says Mirari. "Are you concerned that Fuyu will no longer desire you once her hormones have settled down?" "I wouldn't worry about that," says Mirari. "Why shouldn't I?" ask. Of all things weighing on my mind, that's a pretty big one. Smirking to herself, Mirari turns to look at Fuyu. Following her eyes, I do the same thing. The moment I do, my eyes meet Fuyu and she hurriedly looks away. "I don't think you have anything to worry about," says Mirari. "We don't just do it with whoever happens to be the closest when our hormones flare up," says Mirari. "If Fuyu has chosen you, then you can rest assured that her feelings will not change so easily. Our species mates for life, you know." "I see." Smiling from ear to ear, Mirari happily cleans the table as we all finish eating. While she's doing that, I look over at Fuyu once again, who turns away in a panic at the moment our eyes meet. Even if Mirari says there's nothing to worry about, I really should do something about Fuyu's behavior. I think to myself, if she does like me, then I want her to at least be able to look me in the eye. And if she doesn't, then we need to clear up this misunderstanding as soon as possible. Either way, the two of us are due for a serious talk. Despite resolving myself to speak to Fuyu, the day quickly passes without me being able to talk to her at all. Every time I try to speak to her, Fuyu either ducks behind the couch, hides behind Mirari, or leaves the room. I try to approach her many times, but no matter what I do, she still refuses to talk to me. So much for having a serious discussion, I think to myself. I guess I'll have to wait until Fuyu has calmed down before I try talking to her. Giving up for the day, I return to my bedroom. As I go to walk through the door, however, I find someone standing in the way. "Fuyu?" I ask. "Huh," says Fuyu. Fuyu jumps in fright at the call of her name. "Fuyu, what are you doing out here?" I ask. "Is there something you'd like to talk to me about?" I ask her. She doesn't respond. Fuyu says nothing and stares at me, but it seems like she wants to say something. Perhaps a bit more privacy is a good idea. "Would you like to go for a walk?" I ask. "What?" asks Fuyu. Fuyu opens her eyes and mouth wide as she stares at me in shock. The next moment, however, yes, says Fuyu. Yes, I would. To my surprise, Fuyu agrees to walk. She brushes past me and out the door, and quickly descends down the stairs. Better follow her, I say. The air outside is crisp, but not to the point of being unpleasant. I figure I'm better off trying to talk to Fuyu out here. The outdoor seems to calm her. Beet red, yet smiling faintly, Fuyu walks in front of me. Without looking back at me even once, she sits down at the edge of a stump, fidgeting restlessly as she looks down at her fingers. I follow Fuyu over to the fallen tree and then take a seat right next to her. Fuckboy King, says Fuyu. About the other night, she says. Yes, Fuyu, I ask. What happened that night, says Fuyu. It was all, says Fuyu. I only acted that way because of my biology and, instinct made me do it or something, she says. So, don't go misunderstanding, okay, says Fuyu. It's not as though I like you or want to be your mate or anything. Baka! Stammering uncontrollably, Fuyu eventually manages to squeeze out a few sentences. Still looking down at her lap, she plays with her fingers and speaks desperate to avoid eye contact at all cost. So it was just a hormonal thing after all, I think to myself. Whew, it was a good thing we stopped where we did then, I say. Relieved, but also a little disappointed, I smile and turn to Fuyu. That's what's been worrying you, huh? I ask her. You thought I might take the other night's events the wrong way? Well, you can rest easy, I understand perfectly. You were just acting in accordance with your biology urges. Of course you didn't feel anything for me. Fuyu doesn't say anything. You don't understand anything at all, says Fuyu. Huh? I ask. I said you don't understand, says Fuyu. I'm not just some slave to my body, you know. I have my own thoughts and free will, she says. I wouldn't do something like that just because my body told me to, okay, she says. No, I get that, but I say, didn't you just say jeez, forget I said anything, says Fuyu frustratedly. This is why I can't stand you humans. Jumping to her feet in a huff, Fuyu begins to leave the area. Confused and also somewhat worried about her, I stand up to follow after her. Fuyu, I get that you're feeling temperamental at the moment, but... Shut up, says Fuyu. You don't know a damn thing about how I feel, she says. How could a human ever understand what my kind goes through? Fuyu snaps at me the moment I catch up to her. Backing away defensively, Fuyu acts like a cornered prey as she creates distance between us. No, says Fuyu, it's not just you, even the princess doesn't get it. None of you understand my feelings at all, says Fuyu. None of you even try to understand. Why is Miyari the only one that gets to be selfish? Why can't I take something for myself for once? Even here, away from the pack, I still can't have things my way. Before I realize it, Fuyu's squabble with me is turning into an excuse for her to complain about her lot in life. Out in the forest with nobody but a single human being, Fuyu vents her frustrations. Why, asks Fuyu, why is it always her? Why is it that no matter what I do, I'm always living in her shadow? Even now, when it's the three of us, I'm still nothing compared to her, she says. Fuyu, what are you talking about, I ask. I don't know what life was like for you with your pack, but in my cabin, the two of you were equal, I say to her. Don't lie to me, fuckboy king, says Fuyu angrily. The princess got here first. She made herself useful, enamored herself with human culture, says Fuyu. She even managed to steal your heart. Before I could so much as stake my claim, that girl took everything for herself, says Fuyu. My heart, I ask? What are you trying to say, Fuyu? You don't need to hide it, says Fuyu. I can see the way you two look at each other. She's the reason why you don't want to be with me, isn't it? Asks Fuyu. What? I ask. Fuyu, Mirari and I don't have that kind of relationship. Like I believe that, says Fuyu. You two have probably been doing lewd things this entire time behind my back, haven't you? Asks Fuyu. We have not, I say. Minardi's a nice girl, and I do like her, but what? Asks Fuyu. But you're the only one with whom I've ever done something like that, Fuyu, I say to her. She says nothing. Huh? Fuyu's anger dissipates in an instant, replaced by confusion. Before she can regain her senses and deny my words, I take a seat on the log, prompting Fuyu to do the same. She hesitates for a moment and then sits next to me, crossing her arms indignantly. Fuyu, I'm sorry about what I said before, but I didn't do it for the reason you're thinking. Humans aren't like half-wolves in that way. We don't mate for life, and we don't want to have kids with people we barely know, I say to her. Humans tend to spend years with one another before talking about that kind of stuff, and even then it rarely works out. That's why I don't want to enter into that kind of relationship on a whim or as a consequence of you going into heat. It's not you, Fuyu. You've done nothing wrong, and if you were a more irresponsible person, I probably would have happily taken advantage of you. But I'm not like that. Taken in by my words, Fuyu sits quietly next to me. I place my hand on Fuyu's head and speak to her in a soft tone of voice. With a gentle smile on my face, I look down at her fondly. Fuyu, I've been alone for a long, long time. And just like you, I have no idea how to act around others. I close off my heart, started to push people away, and abandon everyone and everything I ever cared about, all to start a new life out here on my own. But you know, in the short time you and me already have been here, you showed me how impossible my goal was from the very beginning. I was wrong to think that I was better off alone. The time I've spent with the two of you has been the most fun I've had in years, I say. And I think if you opened your heart, if you allowed someone else to see your true self for once instead of getting defensive, you might feel the same way. I mess up Fuyu's hair slightly with my hand and then remove my hand from her head and lean back. Even so, I know how hard it is to change. I also know what a big decision this is, and how great of an effect it would have on your life, I say. That's why I won't make any careless promises or leave you with a bunch of kids and then shrug it off like it isn't my problem. If you're serious about wanting a relationship with me, Fuyu, then you need to be patient. I need my partner to be someone who takes these matters as seriously as I do, and won't give up on everything on a whim. I need someone who shares the same ideals I do. Fuyu remains silent as she listens to my words. Other than expressing minor displeasure at having her hair ruffled, Fuyu remains attentive, barely changing her expression or breaking her concentration. When I finish speaking, Fuyu looks away with a serious expression on her face, still clinging to a monocle of defiance. Insolent human, says Fuyu. I already told you, I don't want anything like that from you. But you do, don't you? I ask her. I'm not talking to you anymore, says Fuyu. Fuyu pouts and continues to avoid eye contact. I take that as Fuyu signaling that she needs some time alone to think about everything I just told her. Alright, I understand, I say. I'm going to head back inside now. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Fuyu. Wait, says Fuyu. Fuyu hurriedly stops me as I begin to stand, but immediately realizes she has nothing specific to say. I don't mind if you want to stay a little while longer, says Fuyu. Just for a little while, says Fuyu, and not to talk or anything. We sit outside while Fuyu calms down. The night air is becoming chilly, and we have to go back inside shortly, but for now I'm content to just sit here with Fuyu. Surprisingly, Fuyu speaks up first. Hey, you're really able to make a go of it out here on your own? I guess, I say. So even if someone like you could make it, I probably could too, says Fuyu. What are you saying, Fuyu? I ask. Do you want to become a lone wolf? I don't know, says Fuyu. I hadn't even considered the option until now. All of my life I've been told to live for the pack and their rules, to serve Mirari's family. But if someone had just told them that we didn't need to be like that, maybe things would be okay. Do you resent her, I ask. Mirari? No, says Fuyu. She's just as much of a victim of circumstance as I am. She's been groomed from a young age to be the next pack leader. Though seeing her refuse to go back to the pack makes my blood boil. Fuyu is silent again before speaking up once more. Maybe I can even live here with you, says Fuyu. That's the last thing I expected you to say, I tell her. I thought you didn't like human society. Who said anything about human society, asks Fuyu. It can rot for all I care. I mean that you're a lone wolf. You're living out here all on your own with no pack needed. Perhaps I could join you, says Fuyu. That kind of defeats the lone wolf aspect, I say. So, asked Fuyu, it's not like I'm asking you to be my mate or anything. But, Baka! I just meant if we were to live together as a cohabitation thing. You know as well as I do that humans and half-wolves can't live together. It's taboo. I'm sure it's the same in your pack as well, I say. We keep a wide berth from humans because you tend to treat us poorly, says Fuyu. There's been too many stories about curious half-humans going into human societies and never being seen again. But if a human gained acceptance into the pack and contributed to the pack, it wouldn't matter, says Fuyu. And so far, you've been pretty kind. Perhaps not all humans are bad. Fuyu scratches her chin as she weighs on her realization. Smiling to myself, I decide it's time to head back inside the cabin. Fuyu follows me, quietly mulling to herself. Even if our conversation didn't head in the direction I planned, it seems that Fuyu is starting to become more honest with herself, if only a little. At this rate, I think we'll be able to return to normality in no time. Alright, everybody, I'm going to call it here for this episode. Wow, this was a lot longer episode than we usually have. But, as always, I hope you enjoy, and I will see you next time for more Wolf Tales.